Before she became Facebook's second-in-command, Sheryl Sandberg had already shattered multiple glass ceilings. Her journey from Harvard to Silicon Valley wasn't just about climbing the ladder, it was about holding it steady for others. Few know how instrumental she was in shaping Facebook's global strategy, and fewer still know the challenges she overcame to get there. This is the story of Sheryl Sandberg and why her leadership matters. At Harvard, Sheryl wasn't just another bright student, she stood out. Majoring in economics under Lawrence Summers, she absorbed the mechanics of power early. She graduated with the highest distinction, but what truly defined her was purpose. Even in classrooms dominated by men, she held her ground. It was here, among lectures and case studies, that her vision for leadership began to crystallize. Fresh out of Harvard, Sheryl followed her mentor, Lawrence Summers, to Washington, D.C., stepping into the world of public policy. At the Treasury Department, she wasn't a passive aide, she became a force. Navigating the corridors of influence, she sharpened skills in diplomacy and decision-making. This wasn't just a job, it was her proving ground for high-stakes leadership. Leaving Washington was a bold pivot, but Sheryl saw where the world was heading. In 2001, she joined Google, then just a fast-growing startup. There, she led the online sales team, scaling operations from a handful to thousands. It was more than tech, it was transformation. Silicon Valley wasn't ready for her, but she was more than ready for it. In 2008, Mark Zuckerberg reached out with a rare offer to help run a rising giant called Facebook. Sheryl said yes. She didn't just join, she reshaped the company's DNA. From monetization to global expansion, her fingerprints are everywhere. What looked like a COO title was, in truth, the architect behind Facebook's business empire. In 2013, Sheryl released Line In, and it wasn't just a book. It was a manifesto for millions of women balancing ambition with identity. Her message was simple yet radical: sit at the table, raise your hand, own your voice. What started as personal reflections became a global movement, sparking conversations from boardrooms to classrooms. Line In wasn't just read, it was lived. The world watched as Facebook faced its darkest storm, the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Sheryl stood at the center, answering tough questions from Congress, the press, and the public. Critics accused her of knowing too much or not enough. For the first time, her calm leadership was tested under global fire. And through it all, she remained composed, a lightning rod and a shield at once. In 2015, tragedy struck. Sheryl's husband, Dave Goldberg, died suddenly while on vacation. The news shocked Silicon Valley, but even more so, how openly she shared her grief. Her Facebook post went viral not for its sorrow, but for its raw humanity. She turned pain into purpose, helping others find resilience through her words. Leadership, it turned out, wasn't just about strength, but vulnerability. What began as a book became a grassroots movement. Thousands of lean-in circles popped up worldwide, from tech hubs to rural towns. Women gathered not just to talk, but to grow, mentor, and rise together. The idea was simple: community builds confidence. Sheryl didn't just start a conversation, she sparked a culture shift. Through each circle, her message lived on louder than any keynote. In 2022, after 14 transformative years, Sheryl Sandberg announced her departure from Meta. The announcement was quiet, no grand farewell, just a reflective post. But its impact echoed. The woman who helped shape Facebook's rise was moving on. She didn't leave empty-handed, she left a legacy. Leadership for her was never about titles, it was about the trail she carved for others to follow. Leaving Meta wasn't an ending, it was a reinvention. Sheryl shifted her focus to philanthropy, policy work, and supporting women entrepreneurs globally. From helping domestic violence survivors to backing equity in tech, her influence only deepened. She proved that leadership doesn't retire, it evolves. And long after leaving the boardroom, her voice continues to guide a new generation of changemakers. Sheryl Sandberg didn't just lead, she left a blueprint. For women navigating male-dominated spaces, for anyone balancing ambition with empathy, her story remains a guide. She showed that power and kindness aren't opposites. That leadership isn't about being loudest, but being clear, consistent, and compassionate. In boardrooms, classrooms, and conversations worldwide, her legacy whispers, "You belong here." In a world where leadership is often defined by noise and ego, Sheryl Sandberg chose clarity, courage, and connection. Her journey reminds us that real power lies in lifting others, not just climbing alone. She didn't chase legacy, she built it quietly, intentionally, brick by brick. And in doing so, she redefined what leadership could be and who it could include. Sheryl Sandberg's story isn't just history, it's a mirror. It reflects what's possible when purpose meets persistence, when leadership is used to elevate, not dominate. So the real question isn't what she did, it's what you'll do. Will you lead with empathy? Will you line in? Subscribe now and discover more stories of quiet power that shape the world. From Silicon Valley to South Africa, Sheryl Sandberg's influence knows no borders. Lean In has been translated into over 40 languages, discussed in villages, universities, and corporate towers alike. Her message resonates across cultures because confidence, equality, and leadership are universal dreams. She's no longer just a tech executive, she's a voice in a global movement for change. Behind the headlines and keynotes, there's a Sheryl the world rarely sees. Journaling by a window, mentoring young women over coffee, walking quietly with her children. These moments don't trend, but they define her just as much. Because true leadership isn't just built on stages. It's shaped in silence, in intention, in how we treat the people closest to us. No legacy is without complexity, and Sheryl's is no exception. Some criticized her corporate decisions, others questioned her proximity to power. But leadership isn't about pleasing everyone, it's about standing for something. She acknowledged missteps, took responsibility, and kept showing up. Because true impact isn't measured by perfection, but by the courage to grow in full view of the world. Sheryl Sandberg's impact now stretches far beyond Silicon Valley. She advises world leaders on gender equity, supports nonprofit boards, and funds education initiatives in underserved communities. In every room she enters, she brings the weight of experience and the clarity of purpose. Because once you've reshaped one of the most powerful companies in the world, you don't just fade, you redirect that power toward progress. Legacy isn't about having your name on buildings, it's about whose lives are different because you were here. For Sheryl, legacy lives in the quiet wins, the women who spoke up, the girls who now dream bigger. It's in every boardroom where an extra chair was pulled out. She didn't just open doors, she made sure they stayed open. And that's what real legacy looks like. After stepping down from Meta, Sheryl didn't disappear, she decentralized. Instead of one office, she now supports dozens of ecosystems, from women-led startups to tech-for-good incubators. She's investing time, capital, and credibility into others. Because when you've already climbed the summit, the next step is to build bridges across valleys. This is no longer about a career, it's a mission. Sheryl now plays a different role, not front and center, but behind the scenes. She backs first-time founders, especially women and people of color, who were once told no. Through mentorship, funding, and board support, she helps them turn ideas into impact. It's not about being the face, it's about making space. And through them, her ripple effect keeps growing. Sheryl isn't just reflecting on what's been done, she's actively shaping what's next. She envisions a future where every table has equal seats, and no one has to line in alone. Where tech is built with conscience and leadership with care. It's a future that won't arrive on its own, it needs builders, allies, believers. And that's the work she's chosen to spend the rest of her life on. Sheryl Sandberg never followed the traditional playbook, she rewrote it. She proved that empathy can drive performance, and that soft skills build hard results. Where others clung to power, she shared it. Where others managed, she empowered. Now her playbook is studied in business schools, quoted by activists, and applied by leaders worldwide, from boardrooms to local community hubs. Grief didn't break Sheryl, it rebuilt her. After losing her husband, she wrote Option B, not just to process pain, but to help others survive it. She brought resilience into boardrooms and made vulnerability a leadership trait. Because for her, strength isn't about hiding the cracks, it's about standing anyway. And in sharing her scars, she gave others permission to heal out loud. Sheryl Sandberg's greatest power, she keeps showing up. In meetings where she's the only woman, in rooms filled with doubt, in conversations that require courage. She shows up prepared, present, and unapologetically real. Leadership, she believes, is not about perfection, but presence. And in a world constantly shifting, being the one who shows up fully is the most radical act of all. For decades, leadership was defined by dominance, certainty, control. But Sheryl Sandberg offered something different, a model rooted in listening, learning, lifting. She redefined influence not as power over people, but power with people. In her world, success isn't a spotlight, it's a shared platform. And that shift is exactly what leadership needed. Sheryl didn't start a movement by shouting, she sparked it by showing. She made confidence feel possible and leadership feel human. Across offices, schools, and homes, the ripple is real. It's in how women negotiate now, how men listen differently, how teams lead together. Not every revolution is loud, some are quiet, steady, lasting. And hers, it's still unfolding. Sheryl Sandberg may never run for office or build the next unicorn startup. But her influence is etched in policies, conversations, and lives she'll never meet. Impact, she believes, isn't measured in headlines, but in habits. In the questions we ask, the chances we take. And in every woman who now dares to speak louder, lead stronger, or simply take up space. Sheryl Sandberg didn't chase legacy, she lived with intention. Every choice from spreadsheets to speeches was about unlocking possibility for someone else. She didn't need to be the loudest, she made space for others to rise. And that's the paradox of real influence. The more you give it away, the more it echoes. Her story isn't just hers, it's now part of ours. Because of her, more women led, more voices rise, and more doors stay open. Sheryl Sandberg didn't just change a company, she helped change the culture. Now it's your turn. To lead with empathy. To show up with courage. To build something that outlives you. Subscribe now and keep following the stories of those shaping the world not with noise, but with purpose.